think outside the box, if you will. I mean, go there, go off campus. Let's think this through. And sure enough, that's where the Mustang was born. When it finally hit, it took the country by storm.
Hello everybody and welcome to another edition of Cars in Context. I'm your host, John Clor. You know, this is the Motor City and this is the show where we put cars into the context of your everyday life. We celebrate the automotive history of Grosse Pointe, but we'll make no apologies for our decidedly Detroit perspective. In today's show, we're going to talk about something that's really affecting Detroit and affecting you. The car makers are trying to sell electric cars, but for some reason, all of us in the consumer world are only buying these cars at a 1 or 2% clip. We can't seem to break that barrier of just being a niche market. And we want to know what is really driving the demand for electric cars. There is a secret. There's something behind the actual demand for electric cars. It may not be genuine, and guess what? It may not be entirely your desire. It could be affected by external things. So to get us through that great topic, we've brought in the guy who clears all this stuff on the internet, the founder and the editor of thevirtualdriver.com, Chris Sawyer. Chris.
John, how are you?
How you doing? You like that introduction?
Yeah, actually, I'm glad I don't have to do it.
Yeah, because it sounds like I'm on batteries, speaking of electric cars. Yeah, but we have got to get through this because, you know, people think that, oh, well, there's a natural pent-up demand for these things. Back in 1910.
They also think they're clean.
Yeah, they think they're saving the planet by driving electric, so we're going to have to talk about that. But before we talk about that, Chris, we have to do something. We have to find out
what's in the news.
You're right. That's exactly right. Chris is so good at this. So I wanted to start this out by something that's always been a pet peeve. If you've been watching the show, and if you haven't been watching the show, please go to the doctor. What's wrong with you? Why aren't you watching the show? Seriously. No, go to the doctor, find out what's wrong with you, and then watch the next show, because we've been talking about autonomous cars, driverless cars for a long time, and why they're kind of zany, and why I, as a person who loves to drive, who loves the feeling of driving, I want to be in control of my own car, I can't understand it. So this story starts off with Google, you know, the same people that made Google Glass.
Yeah. Yes.
They're going to make their own driverless car. They're not just going to make the technology, they're going to make their car. And here is a picture of the Google.
I saw that in the movie Sleeper, didn't I?
The movie Sleeper. What the heck is that?
Don't you like the little face on the front of it with the nose in the center and the two eyes and the mouth?
It's like a little bug. It's just goofy.
I'm so non-offensive.
Oh, I know. Yeah, I'm just a little blurb, blob.
Now we have androgynous
So
cars.
no, they're gonna just announce they're gonna launch their own fleet of these. They're called prototypes. Yeah, but they're gonna have no steering wheel in them and no gas or no brake pedal. So I want you to get into your car, take the steering wheel, the gas and brake pedal, and go. All right, let's go.
You know what that reminds me of? That reminds me of that old joke about I want to die like my grandfather in my sleep, not screaming and yelling like the people on the bus with him.
See, you're so bad. This tech giant Google begins this phase of these. This is their new phase. Now, first was the technology. Now they're going to be testing these cars. They're going to have about 100 of these things buzzing around in California, and they said that Sergey Brin said. These things are going to, they had a press conference, of course, in California. They showed one of them, got a couple of people, I call them guinea pigs, and they drove around the little track. But so they said, this is happening. We don't want to give this technology up. We don't think the car companies can do this as well, because they're going to sell the bazillions of these that you're all going to run out and buy. So we're going to do it ourselves. And guess what? They chose, are you ready for this? Roush Industries here in Livonia to build these cars.
That's sort of fitting. It would be a perfect thing for NASCAR.
Yeah. So I know when we get to the electric cars, why you're not really buying those. Wait till you buy your googly
Why?
mobile.
So that you can wake up later in the morning and not have to worry about getting dressed while you're in the car. And
don't even get me started. Now, come on, give me another headline.
Okay, so 8 self-proclaimed green states, including California and New York, you know, the good old NESCOM states.
Oh, yeah, the NESCOM states.
They've announced major incentives to place a total of 3.3 million zero-emission vehicles on the road by 2025.
3.3 million more?
Yes, powered by batteries or hydrogen fuel cells.
How are
that would represent a market penetration of 15%. 15%.
No, Chris, it's 2%. So how are you going to grow it to 15%? What are they going to do?
Well, did you ever hear the coercive power of the government?
Okay.
Well, here you go.
Okay, all right.
So the 8-state coalition, which includes Connecticut, Maryland, Massachusetts, Oregon, Rhode Island, and Vermont.
Okay, I'm not going there anymore.
That's really
I'm
left
not
of
going
center.
to
But
those
anyway,
I forget. I'm
they
not
plan
trying
to use reciprocity agreements for non-monetary enticements.
That sounds like government
What?
talk.
Such as carpool lane access and preferential parking to help.
That's
push
gonna do
themselves.
it?
No, of course not. They're going to admit that they also admitted that they're going to continue consumer cash incentives and tax breaks.
Oh, really? Oh, by the way, we're still
And
getting
guess who pays for that?
tax
the rest
breaks.
of you.
Wait a minute, tax breaks. That means you're paying for this person's electric car. So even
Every
though
time
you
you
don't want it, you have to buy the electric car for somebody else.
Here's a dirty little secret about entitlements. It's not really a secret. Every time somebody gives you something, especially the government, you really should be turning to the person sitting next to you and say, "Thanks for paying my doctor bill. Thanks for paying this.
Yeah.
Thanks for paying," because they're doing it.
Oh, that's really cool. So I'm not going to the 8 states now. I'm not going to vacation there. I'm going to do a
Neither am I.
staycation. I'm doing another staycation. Grosse Pointe.
I like Michigan anyway.
Yeah. So check this one out. Talk about the federal government. Federal regulations cost dealers in the United States in 2012 $3.2 billion. Billion.
Wow.
With a B. Now, I know it's crazy. Franchise new cars dealers, this is an ADA study.
Right.
They spent a combined $3.2 billion in 2012 to meet the 61 federal regulations for new car dealers in the United States. I bet you didn't know that. I bet you didn't know your new car dealer had 61 regulations to follow. Now check this out, guys.
What do you need besides don't screw your customer? You have a place, a way for them to have a grievance, and other things, clean up and other
Yeah.
like. What do you need?
You need 58 more that puts some regulatory guy in a job. That's what you need. Because the U.S., what did this cost? The economy? $10.5 billion in lost economic output and more than 75,000 fewer jobs, according to the Center of Automotive Research, which is out in Ann Arbor,
yeah.
who did the study for
Good group out
NADA.
there.
Now, the average dealership spent $182,754. Each dealership, over
Wow.
$180,000, to comply with all the mandates. What do the mandates talk about? Employment, business operations, vehicle financing, sales, marketing, vehicle repair, and maintenance. That equals about a little over 20% of the average dealer's post or pre-tax profits. That's insane. About $2,400 per dealership employee went to cover federal regulations.
So
for
how
the
many
dealership.
cars do you have to sell to?
The study said about 106 vehicles you have to sell just to cover the regulations before you can start making any money. Don't you love them regulations?
No, not at
Please
all.
now tell us something good.
Hey, and here, as we've said before,
Oh, here we go again.
half of the top 10 highest scoring green cars
They're electrics.
they're diesels.
No, electrics.
Diesels.
Half?
Half.
Of the top, that's 5 out of 10.
Yes. Well, hey, good to see you could do math.
I can do
Those
math, too.
nuns had
See?
the effect on
It's
you.
not
didn't
all
they?
words. I know math.
Top 10 of AAA's green car list included five clean diesels, 3 electrics, and 2 hybrids, and a partridge. This year's guide reviewed 83 hybrids,
83
electric cars, CNG-powered cars, clean diesels, and PZEVs, the partial zero-emission vehicle. The
How
cars are evaluated on 13 categories, including emissions, fuel economy, acceleration, handling, other factors. So much for that. It goes right along with that road and track cover that showed that the BMW 3 Series diesel was a cleaner, greener
can-
car than the Prius.
So all you people that talked about stinky, smelly, dirty diesels, guess what? That's 5 out of the top 10.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy, crazy. Well, this next one is just about as crazy. Now, folks, we've been talking about you need technology to support new technologies in cars. And so BMW, who's coming out with their own electric car,
The i3 and the i8, yeah.
correct, they decided, well, our charging station has to be something cool and better because, everybody can just plug it in the wall and then have your coal-powered plant make the electricity, right?
Until the EPA gets rid of those.
BMW just recently introduced a solar carport for its new electric i3 and plug-in.
Oh, wait a
AI.
minute.
A
I
car-
was here during the entire winter.
Oh, you mean the 5 feet of snow on top
Not
of your
just
car?
the 5 feet of snow, but come on.
The no sunlight?
Winter. It's called water vapor and it blocks out the sun.
Okay, so perhaps the solar carport wouldn't be a good idea in Farmington. Or anywhere.
Yeah, or anywhere in the
Something.
Midwest.
Yeah, but the one they're going to sell you is it's a carport charger. It's made out of solar panels mounted on a structure. It's made out of, ready for this? Bamboo.
Yeah,
Oh, you
okay,
green
good.
people, you love bamboo. because it's renewable and it grows fast and it's strong.
Mm-hmm.
But to help it not fall over, carbon fiber, which they're also. I know
I'm sorry. I don't remember having a recycling part in my bin for carbon fiber.
you don't. The stuff is like, it's nasty. But so they're going to make it out of that, and you can buy this carport, put it up, and then this charging station will show you how much energy you're using from your house and how much the carport's giving you. And oh, by the way, guess what it'll do? This is crazy. If you're getting too much and you've already charged your car, it'll put power back into your house, unless you're in 90% of the U.S., which doesn't have that kind of.
And I'm sure that the fact that it tracks this for you and all of that is really great for those 90% of the narcissistic jackwads who put this up on their Facebook page.
Yeah, and look what I did today.
Yeah, I'm so damn green.
Yeah.
You're not.
You're destroying the planet.
Oh.
Yeah. So listen, do they talk like that, by the way? I think so. Anyway, so if you couldn't tell, we're going to be talking about electric cars. But before we do that, before we put Chris in the driver's seat.
I know what it is.
And you do?
Trivia.
It's trivia time, car trivia time here on Cars in Context. This is where we ask you a question. We ask you to put your thinking caps on and go back into car history, and we enrich you a little bit.
I'm sorry, but my thinking cap is solar powered and it's overcast today. So
you're not going to be able to think.
No.
Damn it. Okay. Anyway, so here's the question for today, and we'll when we come back from the break, we'll give you the answer, so don't worry about it. But start thinking right now. Here's the question. What U.S. city was the first to use parking meters, and when was it? What U.S. city first to use parking meters? When was it? We'll not only put Chris in the driver's seat about electric cars, but we'll give you the answer to that trivia question right after this. Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Cars in Context. I'm your host, John Clor. Today's show is all about the real driver behind demand for electric cars. And with us today, we're talking to Chris Sawyer, the editor and founder of thevirtualdriver.com. Chris, I love getting to the bottom of things and bringing you on. Boy, we really tell it like it is. But before we do that, we have to tell them something else.
The trivia answer.
Yeah, that's right. You know, I know I just asked you this question, and I want you to do, I know what you're probably thinking, you know, what U.S. city was the first to use parking meters and when? So you're probably thinking New York, maybe. You're probably thinking maybe Chicago. Or
Boston,
yeah,
someplace
right.
like that.
And Lauren
good-
Parrott from
good
WMTV,
guess.
she said Detroit. And sorry, Lauren. The correct answer is Oklahoma City was the first to use parking meters in the United States, and it was the day that it opened. It was on July 16th, 1935. Here's a picture of that primitive.
Oklahoma City. Wasn't the Dust Bowl going on at that time? What were they
look at that
paying? Were they
parking meter.
paying for the corn
The
plants?
parking meter looks Art Deco.
That's cool. I
It
like
doesn't
that.
look
I'd love to have that in my house.
Man, I could put that in my man cave. Do I have a man cave?
I don't know.
I got
Ask Jenny.
crappy office. No. So that, no, Lauren, I'm sorry. No, it wasn't. Can you imagine, now, why Oklahoma City, Chris?
I don't know.
Folks, get on and research that. But that's the answer. It is Oklahoma City in 1935. What a cool thing. But also what a cool thing we're going to tell you today about the inside story. That's why we put cars into context for you on the show. You know, why have people been keeping this electric car thing under their hat? Why is it always between 1 and 2 and 3% of the market? It doesn't seem to be growing. What's pushing it? What's keeping it going? If we're really not interested, why hasn't it just fallen off the table? We need to get to the bottom of the real reason. What is driving electric car sales and what is keeping them either down or up? Chris, we need the answer.
Oh, you want me to answer this?
Well, yeah. I mean,
Oh.
geez, if I answer, I'm going to sit here by myself. I need people.
Well,
So-
there's no question that electrification will happen to the automobile as batteries get better, as electronics get smaller. You can do more things with them. Look what happened in aviation, for example, especially in the Air Force. You would be putting all of these systems on an airplane, and they were heavy, they were mechanical, you couldn't get the plane off the ground. So what happened was the electronic revolution, and now it's all software driven.
Right.
And you can put new features on with newer sensors and more software code, and you can do more things. Same thing is going to happen to the automobile. And eventually, you will see the electric motor being a supplement to the internal combustion, or a replacement in some cases. But,
Here's the but. The but's coming. You
and
know
it's a
it.
big but just like mine, the fact of the matter is that this is all being driven once again by the government and by the greenies. And as we said on our global warming show not that long ago, look, the planet isn't falling apart, and we are sitting right now on 400, and I think the latest number from the government, mind you, was 472 years worth of gasoline. We're sitting on it right now. We have 500 and almost 600 years of natural gas. But combustion creates pollutants. Well, yeah, we've cleaned up most of those. 93% of the pollutants we've eliminated.
Right.
So that would allow a big growth in the car population, wouldn't it? Well, not if you don't want people in cars.
Correct.
And so you push the electric vehicle. We've done this before. We did it with the GM EV1. We did it with Who Killed the
Electric
Electric
Ranger,
Cars,
Who Killed the Electric
all
Car
that sort
movie.
of stuff.
We've been
Now
there.
we're doing it, and we're doing it in a different manner. We're doing it through the CAFE standards.
Forcing them to build them.
Yes, we're forcing them to build them, and the problem is that you're going to be forced to buy them, whether you like them or not. Now, the plug-in hybrid does make a certain amount of sense because it allows you a certain green range, if you will, of 6 to 20 miles on electric alone. After that, you're using the hybrid deal of mostly the gas engine. And I was talking with one of my former colleagues at Lotus, Roger Becker, who has a wonderful idea for an a hybrid electric sports car that killer. I mean, it was killer. I'd buy this car in a minute. But the whole thing is, and he stated it, the head of BMW stated it at the launch of the i3.
Right.
We have to do this. Governments demand
That's
this
right.
of this. We have no choice but to build these vehicles.
You have to make them. In other words, if the government had said you had to make them, they wouldn't be on the market, or maybe they would, but it would only be demand driven. If you demanded them as a consumer, everyone would be building them and they'd be flying out of here 15, 20, 30% of the market. There's still 1, 2, 3%.
And there are cars like the Tesla, and there's 3 of them in my neighborhood, believe it or not.
Wow.
That are great. They're fabulous cars. They're really wonderful. But don't force people into them. Don't force them to buy it. Let the technology go at its own pace. And then people will say, oh yeah, but you know, Detroit, it's not just Detroit, it's the world's automakers, don't want to do this. Really? Well, let's take a look at Nissan Renault, which is pushing electric vehicles as hard as they can. They're building more than the market can take. Why? Because the market doesn't want them right now. Great car, the Leaf or the Renault Fluence, but the fact of the matter is they don't fit people's needs. And unless we go to car sharing, and oh boy, isn't that going to be fun? Just think of it. Communally owned cars.
Yeah, well, I
Can
got
you
one of those
imagine
in
what
my
that's going to
driveway.
look like?
No,
I hope they have Febreze.
Yeah, if you or some, can you guys just like take the McDonald's bags out of it?
No, that's
Yeah.
too much work, dude.
Yeah, Ooh,
They make a certain
sorry.
amount of sense, but to force people into them, no. And it's being driven by New York, all those states we named just a few minutes ago. They think that this is going to solve the pollution problem. The pollution problem is not the problem everybody thinks it is. If you take a look and you measure the pollutants in the air in the United States, in the world, except for those pictures of China that you see, and hey, guess what? They're not a capitalist country. They're still a top-down communist
right.
economy.
They can force anything you want.
Well, no, that's why they have the pollution problem they do, because no one owns the environment. No one, you can't own a piece of it and say, this is mine and I demand that these things be changed. So they put up a new uncontrolled coal-fired power plant every week.
Right.
Whereas the EPA right now, and you will find this out in Michigan very soon with the new standards they've said, is trying to get rid of all the coal power plants.
Unbelievable.
But at this point you say to yourself, where does the power come for my EV?
Well, it comes from the little hole in the wall.
Let's ask another question.
Okay.
What about the chemistry of those batteries? Where are those batteries being built? Have you ever taken a look at a lithium-ion plant in China? It is an absolute environmental hellhole. And you can only do that in China because, well, gosh, communist country once again.
It's illegal here.
And let's also look at another thing. How much water does it take to produce electricity, the power for an electric vehicle, and to build the batteries? Ready for this? 27 times what it takes for a gas or diesel car.
So you're not really saving the planet.
You're destroying it.
You're not doing what you, the reasons you want the electric car in the first place don't really exist in your mind the way they really are. And the demand, what you think is all over the world, isn't really there from consumers. It's there because governments have forced it upon the automakers to make that part of their mix.
It reminded me of the story that I heard from more than one person at GM during the bankruptcy, where one of the lead guys in the whole bankruptcy was taken in to see what the current Cadillac CTS just came out, long before it was there. And his comment was, "What's powering it?" "Oh, it's a V6, 3.6 liters, and we're gonna have a 2-liter turbo." "Have you ever thought about a fuel cell?" Yeah. Would it fit under the hood?" "Oh, yeah. "Well, what about a fuel cell?" "Well, it costs $150,000 per." "Well, yeah, but what about a fuel cell?"
All right, this is the point. Remember back when cars first came out, they were so expensive that only the ultra wealthy could afford them. It was Henry Ford who said, what if I made a car cost like $400 and then everybody could buy one? And then we put mobility in the hands of every man rather than just the elite. So by driving the cost of cars up, Chris, eventually we're going to, the people below the poverty line.
We're going to do exactly what was stated in a conference I went to in California on this very issue, and this is 8 years ago now, maybe a little more, where one of the leading government officials worldwide said, our whole plan is to force people into megacities and into public transportation.
Right. So you can't live where you want to go.
I used to live in a free country,
and
in a free
I can't
world.
live there. So guess what, folks? Demand for your electric car artificially
created,
popped up.
And the thing is, we could have it, and I will make a prediction for you. 60
Okay.
years from now, if we haven't killed ourselves in another world war,
Okay.
the dominant powertrain will probably still be the internal combustion engine. But we will have 15% at least of fuel cell vehicles.
That's it. I'm going to hold him to that, folks. He's going to stay. I'm going to stay for 65 years from now. I'm going to come back and ask you that question on Cars in Context. Hope
John,
you're all.
I'll be 120 years old.
Oh, the oldest living man. Cool.
Well, the oldest woman is here
and I'll
in
be even
Detroit.
older. All right, that's what we wanted to tell you about. Make sure when you talk about electric cars, you put them in context. But you know what? We have even more fun on the show.
We do?
Yeah, we have this new thing that I added.
Oh, I know. Pick of the week?
Pick of the week.
Ah, right.
Yeah, pick of the week is when we get a picture and we show you a picture that we think is really kind of cool that you don't really kind of see every day. So this picture comes to us from a guy who says he loves Ford Motor Company. Talk about Henry Ford. So he got himself
A Ford waffle maker?
I'm
looking at the picture.
A waffle iron, yeah, and the iron is made into the shape.
Ford oval.
Yeah, and so
Shouldn't that be Lincoln though? Because it's like they can't figure out what they are. They just
No,
waffle from one to the
no,
other.
Wait a minute, somebody stole one on top of that. But yeah, there is his Ford waffle maker. So when he gets up in the morning, he makes himself these Ford waffles and then stacks up the little ovals and then puts the maple syrup on them. And he.
Have any of them ever been recalled?
Oh man, no, I don't know.
Just
so
asking.
that's one. If you've got a cool picture that you'd like to have pick of the week, you send it to me, John Clor. That's Clor at carsincontext.com, and I'll put it on the air's pick of the week. But you know that's not all.
Yeah, no, that's not all because it's Pride in My Ride.
Yeah, you're right. Because pride in my ride, folks. It's not.
I
just
read
me.
ahead in the script.
It's when you have pride in your ride, you can send me a picture of your car and tell me why you have pride in my ride. And what I'll do is I'll tell everybody here on WMTV, and they'll also know. So today we got a picture from a guy that we did a show about way back when at the Automotive Hall of Fame, and this picture is from GT Joey Limongelli, and this is a picture of he and his buddies leaving leaving Dearborn, getting on the Lodge Freeway, driving.
How many GTs are in that?
I think they had about 40 of them. Look at this line, and what they
40
did.
at 200 a pop?
250,000 each now. So what they did is they left Dearborn, went down the freeway, came up Jefferson all the way downtown, up Lakeshore Drive and drove out to the Etzel and Eleanor Ford house for a picnic with their Ford GTs last summer at the Ford GT reunion. Joey, I love your Ford GT.
Does he say use guys?
He's from Long Island.
God bless you
Joey,
all.
say that because we love you, and thanks for sending us that
God
really
bless you
cool
all
picture.
for working hard and buying what you wanted.
And then tying up traffic on Lakeshore Drive while you're going
That's
to
even better.
Yeah, but folks, if you were on the side of the road when you saw those go by, that is a vision. That is one of the coolest cars ever. So thank you for that. But you know what? You'd think that would be it.
It's not? Oh, I know.
Oh, what?
Reader mail?
Yeah, this is when we asked Lauren Parrott,
Viewer mail, I should say.
WMTV's own
Too
Lauren
many-
Parrott,
too many years
to
of
come up. And
working
Lauren, is it possible
print.
we have some viewer mail for this show?
Yes, you do.
Oh no, you did it
Oh,
again.
thank
Where do you
you.
find this stuff? Thank you, Lauren.
You're welcome.
Lauren has
As
given
long as it's not under the parrot cage, I don't
Yeah,
care.
well, that's right. She doesn't use it to line the birdcage. This is viewer mail. Now, listen, folks, we thank you for sending in your questions and for Lauren for sorting through it and finding something hopefully that's topical. Chris, the first one looks
And
like
it doesn't start out as you.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that. And Lauren, thanks for tearing those up. No,
Yes.
no, I'm serious. No, go ahead, Chris. Tell us what the first
This
one.
one comes to us from Sally B. of Warren, who watches Cars in Context on AT&T UVerse Channel 99. So do I.
Okay, there you go.
But I
Thanks.
watch it in Farmington Hills.
Okay, well.
Dear Chris,
Yeah.
I read that Fiat Chrysler CEO Sergio Marchionne has asked consumers not to buy his Fiat 500e electric car.
Yeah, he said don't buy it.
I thought I misheard him asking not to buy the Fiat EV. But then I understood after he told reporters at a press conference that Fiat loses, ready for this? $14,000
I thought they were gonna lose-
on every electric car they
Yeah, I
sell.
thought they were going to lose 12. Now they're actually losing 14.
And by selling almost 1,400 electric Fiat 500s so far this year,
Okay.
they've already lost nearly 19 million on this model. Why does Fiat make cars that they lose money on? I think we just answered that, didn't we? Because they have to. And this is what's going to happen to the industry worldwide.
Well, this is bad for the car makers.
You cannot force things that people don't want. You cannot make things that are uneconomic economic just by saying that they're going to be economic. And you're going to force car companies out of business. Let me tell you, there are studies out there, and there are very serious studies that are done by some very serious think tanks that say that by the year 2025, if this continues, we will lose 3 top automakers, and by 2050, we will have a total of 3 automakers worldwide,
see, the
and they
key-
will be basically government owned.
You want freedom of choice, so don't make the government tell you what to buy. Buy what you like and what you want.
That's right.
it.
You know what? Vote the bums out and tell them what you want.
Right. I've got one. This one, I love this one. This one comes to us from Jim T. of St. Clair Shores, up there on the Nautical Mile, who watches Cars and Contests on Comcast Channel 915.
HD.
HD. Hey, we're in high definition for you. It says, Dear John, my neighbor drives a Chevy Volt.
So does my neighbor, but then he's a Chevy dealer.
Okay, well, and as much as I like it, I'm not interested in buying an electric car. I read that EVs don't even sell that well in Europe.
Yeah.
You read correctly. Where gas is almost double the price than it is here. That's true. I know that government's mandates that automakers, well, then he understood our show today. But why do they make more than one? I just saw that Renault is delaying the introduction of the EV version of the Twingo, which was just introduced at Geneva, because sales of their other 4 EVs, the Zoe, the Fluence, the Kangoo, and the Twizy, have slowed to a crawl. Why would Renault add to a lineup that accounts for less than 1% of their vehicle? Why would they? Okay, that's a good question, actually. Think about it. What Jim's saying is, okay, so you're losing money on your electric car. Why are you building 4 of them?
Well, the whole idea is that you're trying to hit different markets and
Right.
different parts of the market.
So maybe they're saying, okay, this one's not selling. We'll do a different car. Maybe you like this one.
And
you
it's
don't like
really
that?
not that different of a car. The platform's all the same. The only thing that's different is the bodywork at top. And that's not really that huge of a cost.
Yeah.
It is when you don't build that many of
Yeah.
them. But Renault has taken they think that they're going to be the EV leader in the world, and Carlos Ghosn is pushing EVs as hard as he can. And the reason he's pushing them is because he's losing his shirt on every one of them.
Well, we don't want to see him shirtless, but listen, folks.
I
That
met
was a great-
Carlos, and I don't want to see him
Chris,
shirtless either.
can you believe it, though? We're out of time. Electrics are not.
Oh, man.
I know, it's amazing. Thank you for
need an
coming
hour.
on. You can see Chris on thevirtualdriver.com and the best blog on the entire internet. Thank you so much. And thank you, too, folks, for watching. I hope we've given you some really critical information next time you go car shopping. And remember, until next time, that knowledge is power. I'm your host, John Clor, and thanks for watching.